Welcome to the Sweatuationship. You're now in Hyperhidrosis Awareness Kenya, Sweat Diagnosis Unit, SDU. Pay attention, learn, receive your diagnosis results and start your treatment. We are honored to serve you. Rejesha Ujasiri Wako.
There is treatment for hyperhidrosis. All you need to do is understand the importance of each treatment, how the treatment functions. It's also imperative to connect with a professional who can explain to you based on your sweat, whether your sweat is mild, excessive, or extreme. So each treatment goes with your sweat. And today we have a guest. Well, he's not new to the hyperhidrosis family. We connected last year. And as Hyperhidrosis Awareness Kenya, we felt like we should bring him back again so that he can help us understand more about this type of treatment. It's non-invasive, known as Iontophoresis machine treatment. So my guest, Dan himself, Senior VP of RA Fischer. Well, I'll let him introduce himself better so that...
That was great. No, I appreciate you having me back. I thought we had a really great conversation last time, just with starting the awareness conversation. And since we've last spoken, we've really made a lot of progress in getting more information out there about the new iontophoresis device. Because we'll jump into kind of the technicals of why the Fischer is so modern, what's so different about it, and then ultimately kind of behind the scenes what's happening from a science perspective. But always happy to talk about those topics, and it's always fun to talk to people who are equally enthusiastic about it. So I appreciate everything that you're doing on your end too.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate. And welcome to the Sweatuationship. It's good to have you back. Karibu sana. We appreciate you, Mr. Dan. So let's get right down to understanding iontophoresis machine treatment. So what's iontophoresis machine treatment?
Sure. So iontophoresis is the treatment used to combat excessive sweating, also known as hyperhidrosis. It consists of a device setup that usually has 2 water bath trays and electrodes that are connected to a main control unit that's delivering a mild electrical current into the water that actually delivers then the natural minerals that are found in tap water into your sweat pores. So kind of the analogy that I always draw for patients, and I have my little notebook kind of right here, is if you can imagine that your skin is a sponge almost, right? You have all these little holes everywhere where there's sweat seeping out of all the time. What the device is doing is it's using a mild electrical current and the natural minerals that are just found in tap water, and by introducing that current into the water, it pushes those minerals into those holes to kind of plug them up. Right. So it's an all natural process. There are no chemicals involved with this, no injections, no even prescription refills or anything like that necessary. It really is a treatment that's just dependent upon an iontophoresis device like the Fischer and tap water that's mineral rich. And for patients that live in maybe soft water areas or where there's any mineral issues, there are things that our treatment specialists can talk them through to improve upon the efficiency of the treatment. But other than that, it's a self-sufficient solution that's not battery powered. It plugs right into the wall. Generally, most iontophoresis machines like the Fischer, and is again, just go to your kitchen sink, fill up about 2 to 5 cups of tap water, and that's what you're looking at for your treatment.
What makes RA Fischer brand different from the rest?
It's a great question. It's probably the number one question that I get from patients, because there are more iontophoresis options available today than there ever have been before. But what's really interesting is over the last 30 years, there hasn't been a lot of innovation in the technology. really the setup has always consisted of water bath trays and electrodes that kind of look like this, right? They have these metal plates, and they were placed in the water bath trays, and it's that metal that was used to deliver the electricity into the water. If you kind of think about that setup doesn't make a ton of sense, right? Water and metal just naturally is going to corrode. And then from a patient, just mindset, that whole concept of water plus metal plus electricity, I've always been told that's bad. Why is this now a good thing? And so that was always maybe a barrier for some patients to get into iontophoresis. Then, of course, you just had some issues like metal ions that were released into the water because you're using metal, and therefore patients with metal allergies couldn't use iontophoresis to treat their hyperhidrosis. So there were a number of issues with just that technology and that setup. That's why with the new Fischer, our electrodes are now metal free. So they're this silicone graphite material here that you can see is soft, it's flexible, it's incredibly durable. Compare that to the older technology of these metal plates, right? It's a vast difference. And so what you're ultimately looking at is not having to worry about replacement costs. From my direct experience, I know patients going through those metal electrodes, depending on the milliamperes you're using for your treatment, depending on how often you're treating, depending even on the mineral concentration in your tap water, can vary of how fast you go through those metal components because they will corrode. You'll notice discoloration kind of spotting on them the more you treat. And so ultimately, if that's something that you need to replace every 3 to 6 months, those costs add up, obviously, right? So with the Fischer, it's nice to have that silicone graphite electrode that, because there's no metal, it never corrodes. So it never loses its efficiency over time, never has to be replaced. And then, in my opinion, really best of all, from a safety perspective, if you think about it, and you've seen the design of a lot of these devices, right? With these metal electrodes, they have this L shape right here. The reason they're designed like this is so that this portion of the metal can pop up out of the water so you can connect it to the main control unit. But what's the problem with this? You now have an open metal contact point with a live electricity feed, to where if your finger or toe or skin touches up against it for too long, you'll get an electrical burn, actually. You may not even know it's happening until after the treatment and it starts to hurt. So now compare that to our silicone graphite electrodes. Look, you'll notice they're flat. So there's nothing that is extended up out of the water. There's, again, no metal, so no open metal contact burns. It's impossible. So for a lot of patients I work with that are dealing, maybe they're younger patients, or it's a parent, looking for a device solution for their child. The Fischer and the metal-free silicone graphite technology has been a huge game changer. So I'd say that really, number one, that's the biggest difference between our device and any other device that's out there right now. And then, kind of getting it just to the user experience real quickly. We've had a lot of legacy patients come back to us and say, hey, I just saw your website. I saw you have a new device, and I saw that you can treat hands and feet at the same time now. Most patients we work with are of the palmar and plantar hyperhidrosis variety, so dealing with sweaty palms and sweaty feet. So being able to cut their treatment session time in half from a 40-minute treatment session down to just 20 minutes, to where they have 2 hands in the water bath tray on a table and 2 feet in a water bath tray on the floor, has been really huge. And, going back to what I talked about dealing with younger patients, my experience, anytime you can make something easier for younger patients, the more likely they are to really embrace it, right? And then therefore see success with it. So being able to talk them through that, it's not a 40-minute to an hour treatment that you're looking at. It's a very simple 20-minute treatment that you can use with the Fischer.
Wow, I can't take or add anything. That's just perfect. And I believe now.
I apologize if it was maybe too much. I can start to ramble when I talk about this.
No,
and I'm telling you.
Trust me, it's important. Everything you've said, I'm even out of words, because I've been asked this question a number of times. What's the difference between brand A from B? Is it a waste in time in terms of economically? Is it going to save any money for me? Am I wasting money? Do I stand to gain anything? There's a lot of questions I've been asked. based on the iontophoresis machine brands. And sometimes you cannot give the total accurate answer based on each brand. I would rather I deal with the brands that I know, and I also have that direct contact with the person representing the brand. So everything you've said is just I can't.
Yeah, and look, honestly, here's something that maybe you weren't expecting me to say, but look, all iontophoresis devices work, right? Iontophoresis as a science has really been proven clinically to work to treat excessive sweating long term. The question really just becomes, from a patient perspective, what's important to you, right? And we really try to talk to them about the upfront investment versus the lifetime cost of ownership, because we've had patients with the same device for 20 plus years, and it's really that durability that allows you to, look at all the factors involved. Again, is it a budget issue? Is it a safety issue? Is it a time issue? Because, for a lot of working professionals, they don't have 40 minutes to an hour to treat every day, right? I deal with a lot of patients coming even from homemade setups, to where even if they saw results, right, the science is still kind of the same behind the scenes. But it's a matter of, well, yes, it's dry, but I have to treat every day for an hour, right? Compared to a professionally engineered device, to where most of our patients only need to treat once every couple of weeks once they reach their maintenance phase. And that's another big differentiator between us and what I feel is, other options out there, is that every patient who is referred to us is assigned to a personal treatment specialist. So basically, you'll have a single point of contact for everything from, exploring insurance options to getting the device. Most of our patients honestly give us a call when they receive the device and put us on speakerphone, and our treatment specialists walk them through everything, right? Get them comfortable using the machine, doing their first treatment. If they have any technical questions, treatment questions along the way, they always have that single person that they can rely on who's already familiar with them. So it's not like you're getting an outsourced call center or something like that. So from that kind of patient support perspective, I think that's another big difference between us. But at the end of the day, it's really just about figuring out what's most important to you. Because look, I totally empathize with the patients out there that have spent a lot of money on various solutions that just didn't work over in the past, right? And they're tired of that. And there's a little bit of hope when they hear about something new, but still there's that voice inside that says, well, we've been through this before, right? And I think that's always a struggle for people. And I always remind them that, at RA Fischer, we do have our money back guarantee. So for any patient, you have plenty of time to really give the device a shot, make sure it works for you, make sure it's the right fit. And worst case scenario, if you fall into that small percentage where Ionto doesn't work for you, by all means, send it back for a full refund. But luckily, for over 91% of people that we work with, this is the thing that finally gets them dry. And most of those patients see results within the first 2 weeks. So it's really nice to get that immediate feedback to know that it's working for you, as we work to develop your overall treatment plan.
And I know you've answered about the effectiveness of iontophoresis machine treatment. The questions that have been asked about this form of non-invasive treatment is, are there any side effects?
No, I mean, that's another reason why iontophoresis is so preferred, is because it's all natural, like we talked about, right? So the only mild side effects at first that a patient might expect is maybe some itchiness or some light redness. And generally that goes away within an hour after treatment, and is actually a sign that the treatment is working. What that's a sign of is the capillaries being stimulated, and is just a part of your body getting acclimated to iontophoresis. Most patients no longer experience those symptoms. If they did in the first place, most patients I work with don't. But if you did start to have that itchiness, goes away after the first few treatments. And then in the long term, because again, you're just using those minerals in tap water, there's no compensatory sweating, which is a big concern that I get from patients. They say, well, is it going to block the sweat and is it going to come out somewhere else? No, compensatory sweating is not something that you have to worry about with iontophoresis.
Awesome. You've even answered more than what I expected, especially for compensatory sweating. That's a good thing. Appreciate that. So
Of course.
let's focus on your brand for a minute. Apart from the three focal areas, the hands, the feet, and the armpits, do you have accessories for sweat in other focal areas, such as the face and the inguinal areas, such as the thighs?
Yeah, so good question. Fisher, we don't currently have any accessories available in the US right now to patients for treating those other areas. However, the good news is there is a third-party company based out of Germany that produces attachments that can integrate with our device, meaning that the components fit our device. And so for some patients who are struggling with craniofacial sweating, maybe neck, back, something like that, they can talk to our treatment specialists, and first we can help them get our device so that they'll have the main components that they need to treat. And then we refer them to our partner where they can get those additional attachments that integrate with the Fisher.
Okay. But the accessories are mainly for craniofacial. Do you have for other areas?
They do have several other what are referred to as kind of full body attachments. Really, the kind of going back to the technology conversation, it's about that silicone graphite technology and being able to have that flexibility, right? So it can contour. That's where those attachments come into play. They're kind of designed just to be able to contour to those areas. So whether it's, hamstring, small of the back, something, there are attachments that could work for those areas. Although Fisher, we do not carry them specifically, but we're always happy to refer patients who are interested in pursuing that option, under the advice of their doctor to our partner.
The brand itself, RA Fischer. Last year when we connected, I asked you about it because I know of the difference in the voltage system. Here in Kenya, it's 240. And I know in the States it's 110, if I'm not wrong. So RA Fischer, do I need to buy a voltage controller?
No, so it's actually, it comes both 220 and 110 volt compatible. And it's not even different machines. So it's not like you have to specify which one you want. The Fisher, it comes both ready right out of the box.
Oh, okay. Well, correction, by the way, it's 220 for Kenya.
Yes.
And is there any provision of, how can I put it, like a power bank? In case someone wants to travel in areas where they can't plug it in.
Good question. So so it does come with naturally. So it has the US plug, but it also has a UK adapter. It does not come, there's so many different outlets. So it doesn't come with everything that's universal. However, if patients have any questions, can always reach out to us and we can direct them to something that's like Amazon, basically, because there are very cheap little outlet adapters for the device. Really, the most important part is that you don't have to buy that converter, right? Because that's usually the most expensive when you're looking for that component. So no need to worry about that. You're looking at a couple of dollars spent on that actual outlet plug adapter. But in terms of traveling with it, most patients, it comes with a nice little cotton storage bag. So they just put their device in that bag and put it into the check-on luggage and you're fine to travel with it.
So this means if I, for instance, let's say I'm patient A, I've bought RA Fischer and I'm traveling up country, and maybe I'm in a place where I may not have access to electricity. Can I connect it to an external power source, an equivalent of a power bank, or just an equivalent of the same? Is it possible to connect to such?
Yeah, absolutely. There shouldn't be any issues. And then there's plenty of safety controls built into the device itself, intelligent software. So if there's any issues with connectivity, the voltage up or anything like that, the device basically just would not operate. So it's not like you have a chance of shocking yourself or anything like that. There are some nice anti-shock guards built in.
That's awesome. That one right there, 100. So where can we find your product, your brand, And for how much? Is there a specific price range for each? I even forgot to ask. Is it separate
Sure.
or how do I put it? If I compare it with other brands, there are brands which have specifically for hands and feet, but you
Yep,
do
absolutely.
at the same time. And can it also manage axilla sweating for the armpits?
Yes. So really the process starts just on our website, just rafischer.com. We have the Fischer bundled in 3 different ways according to what areas the patients are trying to treat. So we have our Fischer underarms bundle, which comes with just the main control unit, as well as the axillary underarm electrodes and sponge pad sleeves. Then we have our Fischer hands and feet bundle. It's the same components for someone if they're just treating hands or even if they're just treating feet. It's just the larger water bath trays with the larger silicone graphite electrodes. And then finally, our third bundle is our Fischer 3-in-1, which comes with everything that you'd need to treat hands, feet, and underarms and all of the components. We do work with US-based insurance companies. So for any US-based patients who have insurance, that's usually the first step, is going to our website, completing one of our contact forms. Then we can look into the benefits and eligibility to see if we'd be able to work directly with their insurance provider. Even if we can't work directly with their insurance provider, we can help the patient seek reimbursement from their provider by giving them guidelines on how to go about doing that, helping them get paperwork back from their doctor and things like that. For patients who are going just strictly out of pocket, we do have an out of pocket discount built into the website. And so, for example, the underarms bundle is $675, and that is with free shipping in the US, also no taxes in the US as well. For our hands and feet bundle, it is $975. And then for the Fischer 3-in-1, it's $1,024.99. So about another $50 for those underarm attachments. Now, while this is more of an initial upfront investment than some of the cheaper options out there, again, really at the end of the day, it's about the replacement costs in addition to all the safety and everything else that we talked about, but really just from a cost of owning the device and treating your hyperhidrosis. With the Fischer, no metal means no replacement electrodes. You don't have to worry about that. So what you really pay day one is what you'll have paid, a decade from now, compared to something to where you may have to call into customer service every 3 to 6 months to replace something just to keep up with the effectiveness of your treatment. Because I've talked to plenty of patients that say, hey, this was working for me, but now my sweating's starting to come back, or I have to treat longer, more frequently just to maintain the same dryness. Why is that? And first question I ask them is, what do your electrodes look like? If there's any spotting or discoloration on them, that's usually the reason why the treatment is losing its effectiveness. And the reason being is because those discolored spots, what they're doing is impeding the flow of the current through that electrode. Because electricity likes to flow through the path of least resistance, essentially what you end up getting is, instead of a consistent treatment across the entire hand, now suddenly you're just kind of getting spotted, right? Because the electricity is going around those discolored or even pitted spots. I've seen it get so bad that the corrosion is literally eaten through the metal. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about stainless steel or aluminum, all of them corrode over time. All of them release metal ions into the water. And so that's really, when you're talking about going out of pocket, that's usually the first thing you really want to be thinking about in terms of the cost.
So there is definitely a discount for the hyperhidrosis family.
Well, I wish I could say that we have like more discounts beyond that out of pocket kind of built into the price on the website. But, here at RA Fischer, what we really think of this as is, we're a healthcare company. And when you're talking about healthcare equipment, it's not about the cheapest or discount or Black Friday sales or mega blowout deals, right? You just want to make sure that you're always getting if you're going out of pocket. And again, we work with plenty of insurance companies that we can help get it 100% covered for patients too. But when you're going out of pocket, you really want to make sure you're getting the best deal at all times, right? It's not like, well, should I wait until the better price comes up? You're struggling now, right? We never want patients to feel like, oh, just wait till then and it'll be cheaper for you. We want to get you help now. right? And so that's why we do offer monthly payment plans for US-based patients. So that way they actually don't owe anything up front in most cases, and they can get the device, make sure it works for them, and then they can stretch out their out-of-pocket costs over 3, 6, or even 12 months. And it gives them plenty of time to often go through reimbursement with the insurance companies. And as I said, to really see that the device is working for them.
Each person living with hyperhidrosis, they have their area of focus. They have a focal area which is a target for them. There are those who are unbothered by their armpit sweating. They are more concerned about their palms and feet. And there are those who are more concerned of their armpits than the other areas. So, with each bundle, I think it caters for different groups, which, it's commendable, and this is going to help the hyperhidrosis family, especially those who are looking for iontophoresis machine that can cater for those areas which it's of prime concern to them. And
speaking of kind of catering to them, right? Because it's really important to talk about with with hyperhidrosis in general, is that everyone's body and symptoms are so different. There really is no one size fits all solution. There is no regimen that works universally for every single person. And so that's why it's important to explore your options, to talk to someone who can talk you through different things. And with our device, there's a lot of customization to it from a patient perspective. You can treat on direct current or pulsed current, AKA you can treat for faster results or a more comfortable experience. If maybe when you first tried, and a lot of patients who I talked to, maybe they tried iontophoresis in the past with a homemade setup and they felt it and they're like, oh, that hurt and that's not for me. With our device, you can switch between those settings with the click of a button. You can also switch between treating on manual polarity or auto polarity switch, giving you kind of the ability to focus the positive on maybe an area to where, hey, I need my right hand dry as soon as possible because I have a big meeting coming up and I want to make sure I can shake hands. You can do that, And so with the device, we're really able to talk to patients about what they're experiencing down to the milliamperes. What setting should I be using it to treat? And there's a big difference. I actually just recorded a video with the engineer who was the genius behind the Fischer's innovations. And he explains more in depth about the differences between volts and current, right? And really it's an issue of potential energy versus the actual output. And what you don't want is an iontophoresis device that has really preset settings of going, oh, well, I'm treating my feet at this, and then I click feet and it just has a number there. Same thing with hands, underarms, because what works for one person may not work for another person. And so with our device, down to from 1 milliampere all the way up to 30 milliamperes, you can control that current. And we work with patients to have them start low, work your way up based on your action. It's not a strongman contest. It's not the higher number equals more effective or faster results. It's really just about establishing the baseline and then maintaining consistency with your treatment.
I'm actually going to get in touch with you because I think I need the 3-in-1 bundle for my armpits, my palms, and feet.
Okay.
And also, as one of the long-term plan that I have for hyperhidrosis here in Kenya, looking back at the conversation we both had last year, and when I looked at I went through the website and I saw you have iontophoresis for personal use and for practitioner.
Yeah. So on the website, we've split it out so that way doctors' offices, because they're constantly looking for forms. There's nothing different about the device itself if it's an in-office use or the home model. So patients are always getting, the best device possible. The reason that practitioner section of the website is so that way, if you're a doctor, a dermatologist, you want to know more about iontophoresis or hyperhidrosis. If you want to know what forms do I have to fill out for my patient in order to get them this device, question we get all the time via chat on our website from doctors' offices. What do we write on the prescription pad? Does it have to say Fischer? Can it just say iontophoresis? What does it have to say? And so we've made all those forms available to them on our website for them to easily download.
Okay, fair enough. I wanted clarity on that specific point right there. And
really, you don't see too many doctors with these devices in clinic, simply because patients have to start out on an every other day treatment schedule for about the first 2 weeks, right? To get the body acclimated to it before they can really start to see results. Expecting a patient to drive into the doctor's office every other day, sit in a waiting room, to go through these treatments is not something you could expect from a patient, really. And so that way, maybe they have it in an office so a patient can see it or try it one time and see if they want to move forward with it. But ultimately, the goal is to go with an at-home unit, so that way you can really start, giving it the effort to make sure that it works for you.
And that's an excellent point right there. And my wish would be, because we are pushing for hyperhidrosis awareness, and we want it to extend even to employers, because they do also have employees that have this condition, and probably they don't talk much about it. To see employers getting iontophoresis machine for their employees, they can just have them in their office. That way, they can cater for, they can cater for their employees. It can boost their confidence. And when your employee is confident and they're able to push on presentations and all this other stuff, it's success to your company. It's an add-on to your company. So for me, I think personally, we should be pushing for employers to, be well affirmed with hyperhidrosis awareness, to get to know what their employees are going through, and some of the treatments that they can accord their employees. So that way they don't have to spend a lot of money on oral medication, which they do have some very crazy side effects. It's not for everyone.
Right.
Those whom it has worked for them exceptionally and provided results that we're looking for. But it's not the same for the rest. I would imagine a scenario where you have an employer and they have iontophoresis machine for their employees. And that's what I'm pushing for. I would love to see healthcare providers, especially the medical covers, they should include hyperhidrosis. Hyperhidrosis should be covered. It's not a genetic issue.
Right.
Medical condition that I know, well, we may not experience physical pain. No one has ever died of a physical death because of excessive sweating, but there is that slow death, the social, psychological trauma that comes with it. And there is not, the worst form of pain is psychological pain, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the more people we can tell that, hey, there's hope, number one, you're not alone, right? That's a big thing. Most of these people, because nobody talks about it, they may feel like it's just you. It's not just you. There are millions of people out there who struggle with this. And that's why the work that you're doing is so important. We talk to patients all the time who often get emotional over the phone because they're able to get help for their kids, because they're starting to see the same symptoms that they experienced as kids. And they remember growing up and being called the sweaty kid, right? Or having these struggles, and they want to do anything it takes to help their child avoid that same kind of fate. And it's really rewarding whenever we get to talk to patients about these things. And, again, we're doing important work, and I appreciate the work that you're doing on your end. And yeah, from businesses to teachers to parents, like everyone just needs to be more aware of hyperhidrosis, of the things to look out for, and ultimately where to go to seek help and to get the answers that they need.
And to just add on effectiveness of iontophoresis machine treatment, this is what I believe. If you're disciplined in your sessions, you will see the results. If you fail to do your sessions, then there is no way you're going to experience any change. So I think discipline is paramount. People need to be disciplined in their,
disciplined and patient. Because if you're expecting to do it once or twice and go, I still don't see a difference yet. It's not a you do it once or twice to start thing, right? It really is you have to dedicate the first 2 weeks to doing it every other day to see results. And then you can, by all means, once you're satisfied with your level of dryness, you start to extend those treatments. So you'll go from every other day to twice a week, to once a week, to once every other week. What's great about iontophoresis is it's not something you can't jump back into. So you can test, you can tweak, right? You can go back, you can make changes. The body's always changing, right? Environmental factors are playing it. Stress is just around us in everyday life. So if you feel like, hey, maybe I can go an extra day without treating, try it. You can always revert back. Right. And so we always tell patients that, don't worry, if you went on vacation, you weren't able to treat, now you're sweating again, it's okay. You can get back into a regimen that will work for you.
And they can resume back to their sessions. And they will still get to experience the same change that they had before prior to.
Right.
I think iontophoresis, yes, it's one of those treatments that, it doesn't require you to follow a very strict regimen. All you have to do is just be disciplined. That's all. And even if you fail, even if you skip, you can always go back, and the body will the body, especially the sweat glands, will recognize, hey, I'm being given the same treatment, so to be easy for it to adjust. Your advice to the hyperhidrosis family.
My advice, there's so many things, first advice, don't be afraid to raise your hand if something's wrong. Don't be afraid to talk to people about what you're experiencing, right? Don't be afraid to talk to a doctor. If you're not getting what you feel are the right answers from your doctor, don't be afraid to get a second opinion from another doctor, because it's not uncommon for who you saw to not be familiar with iontophoresis, or maybe they heard about it in school, but they've never actually prescribed it before. And so they're kind of wary of that. And just keep, looking for connections. And then really, when you do find something that you think could be a solution for you, there's a lot of solutions out there. I really do feel confidently that iontophoresis is the best. Then just when you're looking at your options within that solution, list out what's most important to you. Is it safety? Is it ease of use? Is it the treatment schedule? Is it the cost, the lifetime cost, whatever it is? Just list those things out so that when you go into the conversation with the professional and you're looking at, who's the best fit for you, you'll kind of have a game plan going into it. And then you can make the best decision for you.
I appreciate the wonderful work you're doing and thank you very much for helping the hyperhidrosis family and for taking your time to answer all these questions and more. Some other questions were not even on this.
Just touching the surface. We'll have to schedule this again. We can go more technical because look, there's so many things to talk about this. Hyperhidrosis related, iontophoresis related. We can talk all day about pulsed current versus direct current, auto polarity switch. Why? What's all of those things. So let's definitely do this again as you continue your good fight on your end, and I'm over here and we'll connect again. But as always, I appreciate you inviting me on, and I look forward to our future discussions together.
Very true. And welcome back again and again. It's always a pleasure having you around and for helping the hyperhidrosis family. There is no price to it. It's priceless. It's just not every day you find an organization, an individual that is willing to even listen to the hyperhidrosis family. And, just listen to understand and not listen to reply. So whenever I come across someone who's, a listening ear and is also there, not just listening, but also providing solutions, to me, that's success. And
absolutely.
I believe that going forward, there is that paradigm shift. There's one thing I appreciate since 2020 and this new year, I've seen the rise of new hyperhidrosis advocates, and they're out there connecting and talking to people, doing interviews, reaching out.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Now we're creating that paradigm shift, which wasn't there, a couple of years back. So
right.
I'm thankful, and I look forward to having RA Fischer in Kenya, East Africa, and even in the whole entire African continent. I want
sir.
to have access to iontophoresis machine treatment. So, yeah, and I'm also planning to get mine. So I'm going to side by you on the side.
Yep, absolutely. We'll talk.
Talk about it. But hey, man, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Of course. All right. You enjoy your weekend now. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We'll talk again soon.
Bye.
We hope that the information in this video has been helpful to you. Please like, subscribe, click on the bell icon and share the link with your family, friends and loved ones.